Hello everybody, I hope you guys are doing okay during these tough times. I guess a couple of students needed some help with configuring the SSH key um, the professor was talking about, so I guess I just wanted to make this video as a tutorial or just a little help so you guys can figure out. What I did, I made this scheme um, so I can explain it better. Uh, Here's what we are trying to achieve. We want to um, we want to go through these four stages, right? But to do all these stages and push our code to GitHub, we need we need to configure our PC in a way so that GitHub understands that if a code is being pushed from this PC, it means it's the owner of the repository or it's the owner of the GitHub account. So just let them through. So to do it, there are two ways. The first way is by using username and password, basically credentials. The second way would be the SSH key. Let's talk about the username and password first. There are two ways using your credentials to connect your PC to your GitHub, sort of, right? So the first way would be using your credentials every time. Uh, Basically, every time you push to GitHub, it's gonna ask you for your username and it's gonna ask you for your password, and it's not practical at all. Oh, sorry for my, I misspelled it. My bad. And the second way around is storing your credentials into your Windows system environmental variables. I believe as variables, so that every time you push, GitHub is gonna search through environmental variables, see your username and password, and realize that yeah, the the PC that the person is trying to push the code from belongs to the GitHub account owner. However, this method of using username and password is not that practical. Everybody I know doesn't use this. Nowadays, people just go through SSH key. So, what SSH key is? In two words, uh, it's a piece of string, actually a really long string, that when you pass that string to your GitHub uh, recognizes that string, that it belongs to your PC, and that string, you generate that string on your PC. So, in other words, your PC will generate a key, you will pass that key to your GitHub, and every time your PC tries to push code to your GitHub account, GitHub will know that it's the owner of the account, basically. And here is how setting up the SSH key work. It's really simple. So I made a real tiny documentation just for commands, so you guys can use, and I will upload it to the repo. Um, let's see. Uh, what we want to do, we want to open. If you have already installed Git Bash, you can use Git Bash. If not, you can use PowerShell. Both of them should work perfectly fine. Um, if you don't know how to open PowerShell, instead of right-clicking and going to PowerShell, you will have to hold down your Control button, hold down your Shift button, and then right-click. It's gonna give you the option to open the PowerShell. But I guess we're just gonna use Git Bash. And I have these four commands for you. Basically, let's talk about these two first. The first code lets you check if any SSH key has ever been created before, and second command is need is needed to delete if you need to delete those keys and create new ones. But on top, I have the command to generate a new key and a command to get the actual key and it's gonna be a string, a really long piece of string, right? So let's do this step first, see if we do have any keys available in the system. Just copy that code, paste it in here. Why is it not doing? Okay, good. Okay, it gave me 3 files. To be honest, I don't know what these 2 are, but I do know what the third one is. Since I have already created before SSH key, this comes along with those, and and you never delete it. It's just in there, so don't worry about it. Basically, we don't have any other keys here, so let's just clear this. If we don't, that means we don't need to delete them either. We're gonna generate a key, so I'm gonna copy this part, and then in double quotes I want to add the email address that is associated with my GitHub account, right? And then hit enter. It's gonna generate a public-private RSA key pair, and then it's gonna ask for a directory where to store it. Everything goes by default. I'm not gonna change it. Hit enter. It's gonna ask for a passphrase. I'm gonna leave it empty. I don't need passphrase, and then I'm gonna confirm that it's gonna be entry. That's it. It says your identification has been saved in here, and then your public key has been saved in here. We don't care about the fingerprint. We don't care about this, and we don't care about the random art image. We need the other command that gets us the actual key. If I paste it, hit enter, it's gonna give us back the actual key, really long string that starts with SSH-RSA, and then it ends with our email address that we provided right here. We want to copy this whole piece of string, just copy it, and next thing we need to do is just go to GitHub. So if you do have GitHub, just go to your GitHub account. You're gonna have to go to your settings, go to the section called SSH and GPG keys. I'm sorry. Okay, so I do have a key now. I forgot to delete it, but I'm gonna delete it now. Okay, this is what you guys should see on your end. There are no SSH keys associated with your account. So okay, we're gonna generate new SSH key in our GitHub. We're gonna title it, let's just put my key, doesn't matter. And then for the key part, this is the key that our PC generated. We just paste it in here, dump it in here, and add the SSH key. That's it. That is it. We don't need to do anything else. It should be working perfectly fine. So here's the thing. There are 2 ways to check if your PC is connected to your GitHub. So the first way is through terminal, and it's just a command, but that command just responds with an answer whether you're connected or not. However, we need to do actual testing. So to do actual testing, we're gonna create a repository, and we're gonna go through these 4 stages. We're going to work in our directory and then add it to staging phrase, and then we're going to commit to local repository, and then all the way to the end we're going to push to our GitHub. So I'm not gonna use git bash anymore. I can use PowerShell. I don't need the documentation. Okay, I need my GitHub account. To create a new repository, you click on this link, just give your repository a name. I'm just gonna name it as SSH, I guess. Doc, could work. I'm gonna make it public so you guys can access it too. I'm not gonna add anything to the repository, just make it empty. And I'm gonna create the repository. This when you see this page, it means the repository is totally empty. It doesn't have anything to it. For quick setup, it's as if you have done this kind of thing before. You can use either desktop version or your terminal by using HTTPS and SSH. So HTTPS is needed if you're going to use your username and password, but since we have SSH key, we're going to use this tab. And we're not going to use the desktop version because I guess that's not what professor wanted us to do. And next thing, what we want to do, we want to create a folder. Doesn't matter, it can be named anything. Open the folder. We're gonna dump a file, and that file we want to push to GitHub eventually. So let's do this. Now this folder and this file are not related to our GitHub repository at all. We're gonna have to figure that out using these commands that the empty repository gave us. It says, or create a new repository on the command line. What we're going to do, go to that folder where your code or your files are located. Open PowerShell. As I said, hold down Control Shift and then right click, and then open your PowerShell window, the terminal. What you do next is just follow these commands. You do git init to initialize an empty repository. Afterwards, the next command adds a file called readme.md, but we don't have readme.md and we don't want to add anything. We just want to add all the code or all the files that we created in the folder, right? So the command for adding all those is git add space dot. So it's gonna add all the files in it. We are going to commit. Next stage for committing. So the first commit is just details for your commit. It can be anything. Let's say if you changed a piece of code in the whole file, you're just gonna write some details as to what you changed, for example. After that, you're gonna get the branch. You're gonna assign the main for the branch. Since we don't have any other branches, it is main by default, but since it's a command, we can just use it. Next thing would be adding the origin. This way, our PC knows that if we push a code, it's gonna go to this repository that we created, ssh_doc. And then afterwards, since we don't have any errors, everything works right now. And then lastly, just use the last command. Paste it in here, hit enter. And that is it, it's gonna push to GitHub. After it's done pushing, just gonna go to your repository, refresh the page, and you should see your file in there. And that is it, there is nothing else to do. It works perfectly fine. I hope it was helpful, and take care, guys.